1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum design for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown, joined by Charles Edmond and Coach Vann Pettaway. Here's what the guest menu looks like here on the Carlos Brown Show for June the 10th. Charles Edmond, of course, will be joined by Jalen Woods, Southern University quarterback signee from Atlanta, Georgia, will join us in hour number one. Hour number two, we'll be joined by former NFL cornerback and Southern University alum Maurice Hurst. Of course, Coach Vann Pettaway joins us right now, and we're scheduled to have Rasheed Lyles, defensive tackle who has transferred into Southern University. He comes to Southern University via JUCO, and his last stop was Louisiana Tech. Good morning to everyone. Charles, Coach Pettaway, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I understand, Carlos, you caught a charter flight back from Miami last night after meeting with Pat Riley and Spo. I have a flight tracker app on my phone. I understand you were on the manifest. So are you okay?
Oh, you know what? I'm fine. And that leads me into what's trending on the show, and then we'll kind of get right into it. FAMU baseball season comes to an end last week. The game was going on as we were leaving the air. Their season is finished. They lost 9-6 to UConn. But let me just say this. I'm so proud of FAMU baseball team and coaches. They represented themselves well. They represented the Southwestern Athletic Conference well. And, you know, to lose to Florida and come back in that game too, they fought. And that is all you can ask for. I'm sure FAMU supporters and alums are disappointed, but hey, wipe that disappointment away, because they, once again, represented themselves very well. And that's all you can ask. So their season comes to an end, but of course, making it to the regional and then winning the 2023 SWAC Baseball Tournament Championship, I'd say you're very outstanding season, and you should be proud of FAMU. The 2023 Black College Football Hall of Fame inductees will have a celebration tonight, and they started last night. We're going to get into some of those. Coach Pete Richardson inducted into that 2023 class, a great honor. For when he first got to Southern University, they called him the professor because he looked like a professor, not so much as a football coach, but boy, he went on to have an outstanding career. And last but not least, what's trending? Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals, up 3-1 over the Miami Heat. Guys, let's kind of get right into it. Charles, asked, was I all right? Yes, I'm all right. Let me just say this. I'm a Heat fan forever. And they exceeded my expectations coming into this playoffs, and what they have done has been remarkable. Now down 3-1, it doesn't look good. The favorites, the Denver Nuggets, have played well. And in the NBA, in my humble opinion, it comes down sometimes to just simply matchups. And Denver, the matchup for Miami against Denver has not been good. But does that put their season as far as not a good season or underachieve, overachieve? Hey, they exceeded my expectations, and we'll see what happens Monday night. Denver, if they can take the game, they will be the 2023 NBA champions. Coach Pettaway, tough, but it is what it is.
Yep, I agree with you. I think a lot of times matchups make a game or make a series in this case. Denver has the size. They got when you talk about length, talking about athleticism, they have that over Miami. But I'm like you. I'm proud of what Miami has accomplished this year. And I think at the end of when the season's over with, we're going to find out that Jimmy Butler's really hurt. And I just think he's playing through it because he's a warrior. But on the coaching side, when you don't shoot the basketball, you're not going to be able to win. And, in their wins, they shot 48% from the three. In their losses, they're only shooting 32% from the three. And then in that game last night, when you got Strauss and Vincent going 1 for 10, 2 points between those two guys,
the others,
you don't have a chance.
Yes.
You don't have a chance. But you got to give Denver their credit now, because number one, they're playing on both ends of the floor. They got a 1-2 combination that we have not seen since. For me now, this reminds me of John Stockton and
Karl Malone.
Karl Malone, right? I mean, they were unstoppable, and that's what's happening now. Murray and Jokic, you cannot stop those two when they get into that high pick and roll, because they can do so many other things. Now, whereas Karl Malone always was going to dive to the basket, Jokic doesn't have to do that. He can step back. He can step back, receive the pass, take a shot, or facilitate for one of his teammates. But in the game last night, Gordon and the other players on the team,
That's the difference.
Bruce Brown, Gordon had 27. Bruce Brown had 21. Caldwell Pope had 16. And then you get your point guard, Murray. He only had 15 points, but he had 12 assists and no turnovers. And see, when that happens, when you're not turning the basketball over and you're feeding your teammates, they shot 49% from the floor, and they shot 50% from 3-point, 14 out of 28. And see, Miami was only 8 out of 25 from the 3-point line. So when you shoot that poorly and you cannot stop your opponent, it's not going to end well for you.
Yeah. And Charles, Coach Pettaway talked about the others. And when you look in this series, if one of the others has an outstanding game, Aaron Gordon last night, Pope, and then Miami others didn't shoot well. The others, and I guess it's kind of funny that I'm saying Gordon and Michael Porter are the others on their team, but when the others get it done, no matter if it's Denver's others or Miami others, they've been much success. Last night, Miami others, last 2 games actually, they have not gotten it done.
Yeah, I agree. If you had told me right now that through 4 games it would be 3-1 Denver, I never would have believed it. I would have said 2-2.
Yeah,
I predicted this to be a home series.
Yep.
Denver will win the first 2. Miami will get the next 2. It's 2-2 going back to Denver. But Carlos, let me say this: in a series, there's always defining moments that swing the pendulum one way or the other. Mm-hmm. And last night was a defining moment in the whole series. The Joker picks up his 5th foul. Miami is down 10 in the 3rd quarter. He sits most of the 4th quarter. When he comes back in, Denver's up 9. So with the Joker on the bench, you only are able to shave off 1 point out of that. That to me was the series.
Yep.
You had an opportunity to, even if they cut it to 4-3 with the Joker on the bench, I think if you're Miami, you find a way to push through. But when you didn't do that, I thought that was the turning point in the series. To me, that was Miami's shot to get right back in it. They didn't take advantage of it. And look, the others for Denver played well. The others for Miami did not. But look, the series is not over. I know everyone is just ready to hand Denver the championship Monday night, but the toughest game, Carlos, is a closeout game at home. You feel good about yourself. Your fans are going to be there. It was 18,000 in Denver's arena to watch the game last night. The toughest game is the closeout game at home. I still think Miami's the tougher team. Denver was the tougher team last night, especially with all the adversity with Joker getting in foul trouble. And so I think Miami's going to show that grit and toughness. I do think Denver will probably win the game, but I think it's going to be really tough. I think Miami's going to bring everything to the table. But the series really turned on the dime last night. If it's 2-2, we can talk about this a little bit more. But Miami had a shot with the Joker in foul trouble, didn't take advantage of it. And then Jokic's three-point shooting, to me, he hit a couple of big threes stepping into one. He had another three at the top of the circle. You play off of him. You just don't think he could do that. Not only did he do it once, he did it twice. And I thought those were huge plays, pendulum plays. Spo talked about it last night, the 50-50 balls. We don't talk about it a lot. Coach Pettaway knows what that means. When we say 50-50 ball, loose balls, deflections, you got to get your hands on those. If you don't, then you're probably not going to win either. And I thought Denver had the extra possessions, the loose balls, the 50-50. So you combine that, you combine with Jokic's key threes, they have more weapons, and then you had an opportunity. You couldn't cash in on an opportunity with the Joker on the bench with 5 fouls. I just think it spelled doom for Miami, losing 2 tough games at home. But Miami's won in Denver already. They can do it. The pressure's on Denver to close it out. And we'll see. I do think Denver will win the game because I think Miami mentally is probably, I wouldn't say out of it, but close to it. But I do think the Heat's going to bring all assets to bear to try to stay in the series.
Let's just say this, in my opinion, Denver is the better team. We can break it down from left to right, A to Z. The bottom line, Denver has gotten it done. So I can live with that. I have no choice. Denver has been the better team. And, Monday night, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I agree. Miami will give it all it has. But Denver, so far, has been the better team. I pride myself on being a realist. and that is as real as it can get. Now, Coach Pettaway, you mentioned, and I heard on one of the national shows, or maybe it was on social media, but Jimmy Butler is going through something else. I heard. I think his dad's not doing too well, and he's not going to talk about that, and not making an excuse. But to your point, I didn't realize that maybe he's not 100%.
Right. You can tell the way he played. That ump that he's had all year and in the playoffs, it's not there. It's not there. So something's holding him back. Something has him occupied. And he's not being the person. He's not being Jimmy Buckets. He's not the guy that can give you 50 on a given night. He's not there right now. So I don't know if it's physical. I think it's physical. I think something has happened. I think physically he's going through something, but he's such a warrior. He doesn't make excuses.
No.
And he's playing through it. So I think, and you won't find out until the season's over with. Once the season's over with, then we will find out why he has not been himself.
Yeah.
But this matchup, this is a terrible matchup for Miami. And then personally, I think Monday, it's over with. I don't think Denver's going to allow them to come out of there with a win, because you want to be able to celebrate with your own fans, with your own family, and what better way to do that than to win a game on your home court? And then plus, but there need to be I think it's going to energize them because Miami did win a game on their court. I think they're going to be ready to play.
Yeah, Monday could possibly be the closeout game. Denver up over the Miami Heat 3-1. The Black College Hall of Fame is introducing its 14th class tonight in Atlanta. Of course, they started some of the festivities last night. But here's some of the members of that class. Leslie Frazier, Alcorn State University. Henry Killer Lawrence from FAMU. Albert Lewis, Grambling State. Jim Marcellus, Tennessee State University. Tyrone McGriff, FAMU. Elijah Pitts from Philander Smith College. Johnny Walton, Elizabeth City State University. And Coach Pete Richardson, Southern University and Winston-Salem State. Congratulations to the class of 2023. Man, Leslie Frazier, Alcorn State guys coaching in the NFL. Of course, Pete Richardson, Southern University, legendary coach. Had a great run, but to be recognized by your peers is always a good thing, guys.
Great class.
Yeah, absolutely. Leslie Frazier, of course, we know Braves fans know Leslie Frazier well back in the day. Congratulations to him. Of course, Pete Richardson, we all know Pete Richardson. It's just great to recognize history, the pillars of HBCU football, SWAC football, black college football. Every class is something special, and this was another one.
Yeah, and you always look forward to them. And Coach Pettaway, some outstanding student athletes at the time. And, man, once again, to get recognized by your peers is a great honor.
Right.
I think we may have lost Coach Pettaway. But the class of 2023, legendary coach Southern Pete Richardson, one of the members of that class. I'm kind of looking in the chat room. My JBN1 says, Jim is tired. The Heat rely so much on him, and the other players have played over their heads. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
No problem.
I don't know what happened. Yeah, but anytime you can be recognized by your peers, it's a great thing, and I'm happy for everybody that is in this class, and we look forward to having more people being recognized and put into the College Hall of Fame, Black College Hall of Fame.
I would agree. Let me read in the chat room. Of course, appreciate everyone watching. Jimmy is tired. The Heat relied too much on him, and the other players have played over their heads. We were talking about the others, and in the playoffs for Miami, up until maybe 2 games ago, they have been, very consistent. Gabe Vincent, he had played well. Curtis, am I saying it right? Excuse me. Martin. Caleb Martin from Miami. He's given them some good games. But you rely a lot, believe it or not, on the others, because Jimmy Butler, we know who he is. And Coach Pettaway, to your point, he hadn't had a series like the previous series. So it could be something there, physical, could be just simply tired. He has a lot on his shoulder, but not to make an excuse or make excuses. But Miami, once again, exceeded my expectations.
Yeah. Yep. And I think they surprised a lot of people this year, and they don't have anything to hang their heads on. I think they had a great season. No, it's not ending the way they want to, but I think they got to give them credit for what they've already done, what they've already accomplished. But Carlos, I don't know if you all are aware of this, but in college basketball, there's going to be some changes this fall.
I think I did see something about it, but tell us about it.
Well, on the rules side, it was approved yesterday that they're going back to look at the block charge call. That's going to be officiated. That's going to be officiated different this year, differently. Before, if that secondary defender was there, all they were saying is as long as that guy, the offensive player, wasn't in the air, that secondary defender could be there. But it's being changed now to where if they plant, you see, under the new rule, a defender will have to be in position to draw a charge at the time an offensive player plants his foot to go airborne to attempt a field goal. See, that wasn't the way. That wasn't the way it was adjudicated before. If the defender arrives after an offensive player plants the foot to launch toward the basket, officials will be instructed to call a block when contact occurs between the two players. And then previously, defenders had to be in a position to draw a charge before the offensive player went airborne. Now, the block charge has always been the most difficult call in the game of basketball anyway. And now they're trying to fix it so it make it easier on the officials. But to me, in real time, you're still not going to be able to see that the way you need to. They're going to have to go back and review that to really find out what's what. But that block charge call has always been tough on us as coaches and players. All right, then the other rule changes. Another rule will allow preloaded live videos to be transmitted to the benches. In other words, the coaching staff will now be able to have live footage coming to their bench, and that rule was experimental for the last 2 years. So I guess now they're going to go ahead and allow it to happen now. Okay, then the other things, officials will be able to review goaltending basket interference calls during the next media timeout to ensure the calls were accurate as long as the officials calls it on the floor. In other words, the call has to be made on the floor, and then on the next dead ball or media timeout, rather, they can go back and review it if it needs to be. All right. And then another thing for bench decorum, they're allowing bench personnel who are not students will be allowed to serve as peacekeepers when an altercation occurs on the floor. So in other words, when something breaks out on the floor, now they're allowing everybody except students to leave the bench to help calm things down. And I think that's a good one.
Well, Coach, the only one that has me going, is the first one about the blocking, because that's always
that's
so
a tough
difficult.
call.
It's difficult, and even when you're watching the NBA, a lot of times that blocking call that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. But the other ones.
Here's one that I think is going to help. Now they're allowing a timeout to be granted when a player has possession of the ball, even though the player is airborne. In other words, you can now, right. If you can catch the ball going out of bounds, as long as you got possession, you can now call that timeout. Whereas here lately, you couldn't do that. So they're putting that back in. So there going to be a few changes that that'll be made this coming season. The one of them is wearing on the uniforms now. I don't like this one now. Player will be allowed to wear numbers from 0 to 99. I don't like that. That to me, that's more of a football rule. Well, we don't need nobody wearing no doggone 99, man. All them crazy numbers.
I mean, even 88, 77,
that's what I'm
67,
saying.
50, the 40s.
Well, let me say this, Carlos, on the rule, on that blocking rule, on the review, that's going to be interesting as far as how we stream games. And of course, we know in this conference, if the game is not on television on HBCU Go or ESPN, we have our own internal production You're going to have to make sure you get the proper camera angles to review that, because if not, if the evidence isn't overwhelming to overturn the call, the ruling on the court stands. So that's got to get us on alert, us, all 12 of our schools, in terms of how we produce our own in-house games. To make sure you get the right camera angles. I mean, you watch the NBA Finals; they've got 30 cameras and 30 angles you can watch, high definition.
And still, Charles, sometimes with all those angles, I still disagree with the call.
Right. I get that. I just think that we have to do a little bit better in terms of getting those angles to make sure, because a blocking call or whatever the case is going to, couldn't determine a game. So that's the one. That's the one I look at. The other one, as far as having I think what Coach Pettaway is talking about, having video on the bench, mainly an iPad, where a coach can have an iPad in hand and look at some stuff. That was kind of, I think that was experimented with at the HBCU All-Star game, if I'm not mistaken. They kind of experimented with that a little bit. So a lot of these rules that have been experimented with, I don't, one way or the other, as far as the uniforms, I can go one way or the other on that. You see that at the next level. So I don't have a problem with that, but I always look at the competitive aspect of it, the blocking foul, and then being able to call a timeout when you're falling out of bounds or whatever the case may be to preserve the possession. That's an interesting one, and our SWAC officials have to be alert about that. But I think just trying to make some different changes to try to get it right, and I don't have a problem with it. But it should be interesting to see how it's enforced, especially once conference games roll around.
And then, Charles, one of the other things now this will hit home for you, that's on the horizon. They're going to continue to experiment with the timeout, the media timeout. In the second half, the first dead ball is under 17 minutes. The 17-minute, 11, 8, and 4. Now they're going to experiment with this again for this year to see if it's going to be implemented. Charles, I don't have a problem with that one, but the next one I do. They talk about widening the lane. I'm against that. Let me tell you why. I think there'll be too many lines on the floor, because you're still going to have to keep the current lanes for women's basketball and also for high school.
Yeah.
So if you expand it for the collegiate level, that's just going to add some more lines on the floor, and I just don't like that.
Yeah. We know that, Carlos, the media timeouts we actually had that at the NIT. I stand corrected.
Right.
The iPad as well as the extra media timeouts. They experimented with that in the NIT when Alcorn played North Texas. So they experimented with it last year. So obviously they saw some success in it. So now it's a rule in place. But yeah, it is a lot of timeouts. I had to get used to it. The number of media timeouts. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that's going to be, how that takes away the ebbs and flows of the game.
Right. And Charles, I used it this year. I did the Alabama, I did the junior college tournament, and they have that format. Because my first game, I was lost. I was like, wait a minute. Junior colleges has been using it. Now they're going to do it another year on an experimental basis to see if they want to implement it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say this. Sometimes changes are good. Sometimes it's bad. I guess it'll be an adjustment for all involved, from the production side, from the coaching side, and from the players' side. But again, I can live with all the changes. Just that first one you mentioned about, the blocking, that is going to be interesting. And then also when you talk about widening the lane, I remember watching a basketball game, and I think it was the international competition, but they were playing on a United States regulated court, and you had all the lines of what you're talking about, like three-point line. You had one for collegiate and international competition, so it can be confusing. You see in the NBA sometimes when they have they're moving the ball quickly to a 3-point shooter, and he'll look down, and then he notices that he's not behind the line, but then he steps back quickly, and I mean quickly, and to shoot it. So we'll see, Coach. Got to take a timeout. When we come back, scheduled to join with Jalen Woods, 3-star quarterback. For those who follow the star system, he's out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. He's coming to Southern University, and a tremendous talent on the field, albeit a freshman. We're going to see what his goals are for the first year, and we'll just have a conversation with him. So we'll take a timeout. You're watching the Coles Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show. From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Joined by our special guest, Jalen Woods, 3-star quarterback out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. Jalen, good afternoon to you. I didn't say morning, but good afternoon in Eastern Standard Time.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing?
Doing all right.
Yeah.
Well,
Glad to hear.
thank you, sir. Your high school career, I didn't mention your high school, but tell everyone your high school, the name of it.
I go to Woodward Academy. I went to Woodward Academy. It's just a private school out of College Park, Georgia, right by the airport.
Okay. Well, see, I've been to Atlanta several times. I just consider it Atlanta. I mean, I know they got different, parts of the city.
Right.
Jalen, your recruiting process,
Mm-hmm.
how was it?
I like to call my recruiting process slower than everyone else that was around me at the time, because I wasn't at Woodward my whole life. I started at Marietta. I lived in Marietta since I was 5 years old, so I was brought up in that process. And my freshman year, we had a bunch of talent. We had, a 5-star quarterback, Harrison Bailey, number 1 player in the nation, Eric Gilbert. I still dressed on varsity, but, I didn't get one down. So then that next following year, I started getting more reps on varsity. I started a couple games and whatnot. But then after my sophomore year, my parents and I made a decision that I was going to transfer, and that's what led me to go to Woodward Academy. And the summer going into my junior year, we did a 7-on-7 camp at Georgia Tech, and that's when I got my first offer from University of Toledo. And after that, as the season progressed, I got Miami, Ohio, Morehouse offered me. Georgetown ended up offering me that summer. I wasn't getting like 20, 30 offers, but I was getting, a good amount of offers consistently. I think I ended up with 13 or 14 total. But as my senior season ended, that's when, the transfer portal really affected me, because most of these other schools started taking quarterbacks out of the transfer portal. Because, I don't blame the colleges, when they have the choice to, either go with someone who's been in college for about 2 or 3 years, or someone who has no experience. So, there's nothing against them. It's just, they're trying to win. So I totally understand that. So I think it was in January, middle of January, and Southern hit me up saying they're very interested in me. And so they got me down to visit the last week before signing day, which I'm really, it's all glory to God for that, because I don't know what I would have done if Southern hadn't hit me up. Because I had other offers too, but none of them really felt like home, if you know what I mean. So, right when I got on campus, as I crossed that bridge, I knew this is where I want to go to school. So they didn't offer me right away. Obviously, I had to pass the eye test, and then, after talking to the coaches, we had a dinner the last night of my official visit, and then Coach Dooley told me that he really sees a lot of potential in me, and that he wants to offer me a full scholarship. And that was probably one of the best moments of my life, because at that point, most other visits I've been on, I've been offered right on the spot, but they definitely took their time to see if I'm a guy they really want to take. So I'm really thankful for them and the coach staff for taking that chance on me.
Jalen, after your senior year, toward the end of the senior year, of course, you talked about Southern University offering. Who would be some notable names that offers you besides Southern?
People that offered me notable names was Morehouse offered me during my senior season. I believe Georgetown offered me as well, and then Delaware State offered me in January. When that he had a new coach and staff, Coach Lee Hull. I believe Tennessee Tech offered me as well. And then obviously I said Toledo and Miami, Ohio. Those are the MAC schools, and the College of Charleston too. So those were some of the schools that were in the contender that I was interested in.
And Charles, it's interesting that we've talked about even last week. We had Coach Fish on talking about how the transfer portal has affected, student athletes. So it's interesting that you understand what's going on, Jalen, and you accepted the fact, because it's really that impact of the transfer portal we've talked about on the show. We feel a certain way about it. It's a good thing in a way, but then it kind of hurts the student athletes, and talking to parents who have student athletes trying to get scholarships offers who are pretty talented. It makes for a tough situation. So of course you chose committed to Southern University. How are you preparing for that now, as far as your summer workouts?
They didn't give me a workout schedule personally, but after I committed there and I signed, I asked them do you guys have a workout for me, or you're doing your own thing? And they said you can do your own thing. We trust you and all. So what I've been doing, there's a quarterback trainer. His name is Quincy Avery out of Atlanta. He trains Deshaun Watson. He trained Trey Lance. So ever since January, I've really been working with him, going through group sessions. We previously just had flight school, which is one of the nation's best quarterback camps in Atlanta. And as far as training wise, there's a workout place in Atlanta called Adapt Athlete, and it's I go there 3 or 4 times a week at 7 in the morning, and they train a lot of notable names like who all has been there? Like Amari Rogers. They have like maybe 20 NFL jerseys on there. Kyle Pitts goes there. A lot of notable names walk through there all the time. Calvin Ridley, stuff like that. So they're definitely going to be prepared for the college level. They know what they're talking about too. So,
and within those workouts, it's designed specifically for quarterbacks. Right. Of course, what in a day? I mean, you don't have to give me the whole schedule, but what does it entail, the workout?
I'll give you my Mondays. So on Mondays, they have me coming in at 7 a.m. in the morning. And for quarterbacks, usually they have different workouts set up. Like they have me doing rotational stuff so they can like help with my rotational aspect of the game. And along with, getting me stronger in the legs because, I was strong in the legs before, but I know like taking it to the next level is a whole different process you need to be mentally prepared for. So that's what I've been working on doing this past 4 or 5 months. And so basically at 7 a.m., workouts usually last about an hour and a half at most. And I always end it with conditioning. They have like one of those fast treadmills in there, and then along with bicycles and ellipticals and stuff like that. Yeah. And then they have like a recovery process too. Like whenever my shoulder's feeling sore or whenever I know I'm about to be throwing for a long period of time, they usually give me cupping on my shoulders and stuff like that. So they can get me prepared.
One of the things I didn't ask, but in the recruiting process, and Charles, let me know when you're ready to jump in there. You're from a standpoint of, and I think we had talked about this a week ago, but the offense that you run, you were running at your high school, is similar to Southern University's offense. Was that an important factor?
Right.
One of the important factors of you considering Southern University?
It was definitely one of the most important factors of deciding what college I wanted to attend to, because obviously I've been in this offense at Woodward for about 2 years now, and I felt really comfortable in it. And so obviously before I went to Southern and visited, when they hit me up, I did my research, watched a couple games, just did a little background knowledge about the school, and the offense is basically identically similar to Woodward's. This is a spread offense. They go under center sometimes when it comes to the goal line, but overall, the quarterback's mainly in the shotgun. And I like most of the concepts they do too. They do some flood concepts that I'm really that I'm fond of too as well. So the offense and the type of offense Coach Dooley runs definitely played a big role in what I wanted to do as far as going to college.
Yeah. Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, I have a quick question for you. You were talking about the camps, the 7-on-7s and all that. I follow a bunch of stuff on social media. People going to these different camps, schools promoting these different camps. Talk about that process and how that leads to opportunities, especially considering that the transfer portal, it kind of shuts out, it's limiting opportunities coming out of high school. How important are those camps? Because I was reading a post, one of the top players in the country got 4 offers, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, just coming out of that particular camp. I can't remember which one he attended, but coming out of that camp, he had 4 offers. How does that typically work based on what you know about it and being a part of it?
So I will tell you this, as far as camps to go, I'm not a firm believer in going to a camp where no college is involved. If it's like just like maybe a prospect camp or like, local camp that you don't know if any college recruiters are going to be there, I would not go to one personally. Because at the end of the day, if a college isn't showing interest in you and they haven't personally invited you to a camp, it's not, very ideal for you to go to a camp. If you're young and you want to get like a camp experience, then I totally understand. But as far as camp, because camps, some can be pretty expensive as too. And Not every athlete can afford to pay, $70, $80, camp. So you have to pick your camp schedule wisely. So for me, I believe I went to my junior year, I went to 3 or 4 camps that I was personally invited to by a college coach. And then also another camp I recommend are the mega camps. Now, the mega camps are like, Mercer holds a mega camp.
Yeah.
I believe SMU holds a good mega camp. And I can't remember the other one, but those mega camps, when they have 50 plus colleges at, it's really, really good to go to because you can get, looks by everybody.
Yeah.
And, if it's if FSU is holding a personal camp, colleges will be there, but it's not the same as like a mega camp, which the intent is to have as many colleges as you can to be on your campus. So I went to a lot of mega camps, and obviously if a offensive coordinator or a quarterback coach or even a head coach invites you to a camp, then it's probably in your best interest to go.
Yeah. Charles, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But as far as the other camps, you don't really know too much about. It's not a college hosting it. You don't really know much about. You haven't heard a lot. I would just save your money, unless it's like a personalized skill training camp. Like obviously, you want to get better, do whatever you can. But as far as just if somebody's promoting their camp and you don't know that much about it, then I don't know if I would go to that one.
So the bottom line is not all camps are created equal. There are different levels of camps.
Yeah, there's definitely levels to it.
Yeah. and besides too, I think what you're saying is true because in the mega camps, the more eyes you're seen by the people who will make the ultimate decision to offer you, it's better to go that way. Visiting with Jalen Woods, 3-star quarterback out of, what is it again, Jalen? College
Park, Georgia.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get that right, Jalen. College Park, Georgia. Your major. What are you planning on majoring at Southern University?
Well, I want to be a lawyer when I grow up, and so I'm majoring in political science.
That's not bad.
So,
not bad.
And obviously, if being a lawyer doesn't work out, because I know it doesn't work out for everybody, but political science is still a good major to have. So you can do a lot with it.
Yeah. Actually, that was my minor, Charles. Believe it or not. My major, when I got my degree in Bachelor of Arts, was history, but nobody wants to know that. Let's stick back with Jalen. In your first year, now this was an interesting question, I believe. What do you want to accomplish, or your goals in year one, albeit of going to be classified as a freshman and moving to the next level? What do you want to accomplish?
Well, as far as what I want to accomplish my first year at Southern University, obviously, I want to be the best quarterback and be possible in any way that can help the team. I know, Coach, I believe we have like about 5 quarterbacks in the roster. And I'm not scared of competition. I love it makes you a better quarterback. I've learned in the past.
My favorite word, competition.
Right. So I love competition. So I'll be doing my best to make me the best quarterback can be, as long as everybody else in the quarterback room as well. Yeah. So I don't have per se. I want to start freshman year. Obviously, everybody wants to start, when they get on campus, but most of the time it's not the case. And whether that's the case or not, I'm still keep my head high, and I'm gonna keep a positive attitude about it. I'm just knowing I'm gonna come in and be the best quarterback can be possible for the team.
Yeah, because from a football athletic standpoint, but there's also from the academic side and getting acclimated to college, and it's a whole new world. And so
I understand most of the academics part, but as for me, I don't see academics being a big problem, because the school I go to really prepared me for college. So that's gonna be my number one priority is the playbook and school.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I'm looking at some of the on YouTube, some of the comments, and I paraphrase it. They basically are saying very articulate. Head seems to be in the right place. and they're wishing you the best. Now, some are saying we may just be listening to the Jags starting quarterback. I wouldn't put that much pressure on you, but if we can roll the film again, a tremendous talent, and and I always talk about on this show having quarterbacks that can make all of the throws. Would you consider yourself, well, before I ask this part, we've talked about dual threat quarterbacks. My definition of a dual threat quarterback is one that can do both equally well, meaning athletically and making all of the throws. Right. What do you consider yourself?
I consider myself a pro style quarterback because number one, I love throwing the hell out the ball. That's my number one option right there. I love throwing the ball, but I'm not one of those pro style quarterbacks who can't run at all. Like, if I have to run, I'm gonna run the ball too. So I feel like when I run when I have to run the ball, if the pocket collapses, if it wasn't the right play call or none of the receivers got open or the receiver ran the wrong route, put my head down, and tote the ball. So that's why. But obviously, as far as Wilbur goes, we had a really good offensive coordinator or head coach, and so he called the right plays most of the time too, and he really adjusted to me throwing the ball a lot. So as far as I'm not a dual threat, but I run when I have to.
No, I understand what you're saying because on this show, and sometimes it's been controversial when we talk about in this conference, the teams that have done well or are doing well is the quarterbacks that can make all of the throws. Because sometimes you have athletes playing quarterback, and I'm just saying that on the collegiate level. But as we see the footage, drop a pro style, be able to make all of the throws. That is what I'm looking for. With that being said, what would you like to, in parting, say to the Jaguar Nation? What type of /person quarterback that they're getting?
The type of quarterback you're going to get out of me is obviously pushing speed, getting 1% better every day. That's definitely my motto. When I wake up in the morning as well, my parents tell me be 1% better every day. So, you might not even have a good practice sometimes, but, you have to be confident in the type of quarterback you are to the point where that, you're better than that and that you're going to get my best out of me as well. I'm coming with a different type of attitude every practice, just to make myself better along with the team in the quarterback room as well. So you're getting a dog out of me, and I'm coming.
With that being said, go ahead, Charles. Go ahead.
What was the biggest selling point as far as Southern University? What impressed you about the Jaguar Nation?
The question is, what didn't impress me really? Prior to when Southern hit me up, I visited the college, and I won't tell you the college right now, but it wasn't. They didn't have all I just wasn't really impressed with the setting, the environment, the facilities and stuff like that. So when I crossed that bridge, obviously I talked to Coach Julie beforehand. Coach Julie was a very big factor as far as getting me to come there because he's definitely a respectable guy, a well-known coach, good personality. And one thing I like about him is that I don't think I've ever seen him not dressed in a tuxedo or in a suit. So
his drip.
Yeah. So someone that's their specific attire, then that he takes a certain it's an extra level to not to impress others, but he gives off the impression to me that everywhere he goes it's just classy and it gives me the utmost respect for him as well. So Coach Julie was a big factor in it, along with just Southern University itself. The campus, the football stadium, the coaches, the players. I got to talk to a lot of the players while I was on my official visit, and it gave off a sense of a family environment, a family community. I can tell as far as the games go, that the whole Baton Rouge is going to be there. As far as supporting Southern University, I really liked having the family environment, feeling like I'm home. I'm at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the coaches as well too. So when I visited Southern, they had different quarterbacks, Coach Williams, but he ended up leaving, and they got Coach Tottens. And as far as I know, as far as the phone calls we have, he's one of the best quarterback coaches in America. As far as being, he's been in the game for a very long time. He was Jerry Reifer's quarterback. He was previously a head coach at a well-known university, HBCU. So I'm really excited to get to work with him as well.
Yeah, boy, Jalen, I would love to. I have a thought about who that college you won't mention, but and I respect that. Just for the record, what that college, is it in the conference or not?
It's in the MEAC.
Okay. All right. Yeah, well, you know what, with the MEAC and the SWAC, Jalen, they've had the ups on the SWAC as far as the MEAC SWAC talent,
the Celebration
Bowl. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So with that being said, I'll have my own private thoughts about that. That's cool, and it better not be who I think it could be, but I could be totally wrong. Well, you get to Southern, I believe, in late June.
June 28th.
Yeah, get used to the humidity. When you visited, I'm sure it was pleasant, but right now it's, my goodness. Put it this way, next week it'll be in the upper 90s, but the big difference is, Jalen, get acclimated to the humidity and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Right. Yeah, I'm not worried about heat as much. I'm from Florida, so it's not really that much of a problem for me as far as heat, but I definitely know what you mean. I've been in Georgia for a minute, so it gets hot down here, but I've heard it's not Louisiana hot. So
yeah, but you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
You have the right attitude. Boy, some people in the chat room saying, "Can you bring some receivers?"
I've definitely been doing some work as far, because I couldn't really do that much for the 23 class, but as far as 24 class, I'm definitely working and bringing in some top-notch ballers.
How you say wink, wink with the eye?
Yeah, wink, wink.
All right.
Wink.
Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Sure.
You seem to have the total package. That's what I call it, from an academic standpoint, a personal standpoint, and the film doesn't lie. I think you will be a great fit. And we appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll follow you.
For sure, anytime.
All righty.
Thank you guys for having me.
Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You as well.
All right. That was Jalen Woods. I tell you what, people in the chat room pretty impressed with the guy. Just kind of looking at some of the comments. Yeah, Jalen is a very articulate, love his attitude, and he can really throw the ball. He really can. And the question about, Charles, me and you've had this conversation, dual threat. My definition, as I stated in interviews, may be different than others, but you got to be able to do both equally. But he said he's a pro-style quarterback that has the athleticism to make things happen if called upon. But in this conference, you have to make every throw. You have to be able to make the throws. And we can look at teams in the conference that are going to be bringing in quarterbacks. That's what we're going to be looking at. Can you make that critical throw on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6? That is going to be a big question mark coming in this conference.
Yeah.
Charles, we're going to take a break. When we come back, scheduled to join with Maurice Hurst. Now, did you Google him, Charles, from last week?
I did briefly Google him. I'll pull that back up during the break. But I did, when you told me about it, I did pull it up briefly.
Yeah, and you know what? I have some questions because people have asked me, did Maurice, did he play with Aeneas Williams? Were they at the same time? We'll find out. We'll find out. But played 7 seasons in New England. Drafted by them in the 4th round, 1989. Also has a son that's in the NFL with the Cleveland Browns, I believe, Maurice Hurst Jr. But we'll focus more on his time at Southern University, his recruitment, his college careers, his NFL days, and then last we'll kind of talk with him about his thoughts on the Southern University program and his relationship with Coach Dooley. We'll take a timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No, wait.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, joined by Charles Edmond, and now another special guest, Maurice Hurst. Cornerback, played 7 seasons in the NFL, New England Patriots, a 4th round draft pick in 1989. Good afternoon, Maurice. Welcome to the Carlos Brown Show.
Oh man, thank you. Good afternoon to you guys. We've been trying to get it. We've been trying to make it happen to schedule it, but hey, we got it done. We got it done now.
You're right, because I was like, man, I'm gonna get him. The timing didn't work out, so I got up this morning and I see a text message. I say, "Whoa, that's it." He was asking for the information, so pleasure to have you on the show. We're gonna go from a point of your recruiting process, your days at Southern, and NFL days, and then thoughts on the Southern program right now with Coach Dooley. But I've got a lot of questions the last couple of weeks, so let's start right now. They want to know: did you play with Aeneas Williams at Southern University?
Yeah, we played at Southern University. We also played against each other in the playground ball. He played for Harrell Playground. I played for Conrad. So we had the joint. We grew up. All of us was in, park ball. So we grew up. We all went to Woodson and then on the 4K high school. Aeneas was a year behind me in high school, and he played defense. Actually, I played offense then. But we played together. And then I went on to Southern University. He went to Southern, but he didn't play football, I think, for his first 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then he came out my junior year. He came out about mid-season and played that year. And then that following year, he played. So we got to play together a little bit in both high school and college football. So, and his story is a little different, but he walked on at Southern.
Yeah.
And we were like in the middle of the season, So he ended up playing and starting. So things worked out well for him. And I got an opportunity to play with him a little bit on defense. And that was pretty interesting. And both of us ended up in the NFL. So,
wow. Sometimes you never know when your steps are ordered ahead of time. I'm sure it was competitive as we were thinking about it, or how was it actually?
In terms of when we got to the league, the two of us, yeah, it was a little competitive. Obviously, he set some standards that were really, really high. And a lot of things I think we both helped each other. In the off season, we talked a lot. We worked out a lot back here at home. And we kind of learned from each other. And I think it was more of that. It was a competitive deal, but it was more of helping each other figure out what was going on. And I can remember we were playing Arizona, and he called me and he said, look, he said, be careful with this. I can't think of the receiver. What his name is? What was it? The Redskins, and he was with Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
He was with Art Monk and them for a while, but I can't think of his name. But anyways, he told me, he said, be careful more with him. He so coming into the game, and I kind of like respect guys, but when it came from him to tell me, he said, this guy's got some stuff. He said he got some stuff. He ain't fast, Mo, but he got some things that could. So obviously he had been playing against him, practicing against him, and we just laughed it off, and we ended up beating him that day, so it was fun. I got an interception, so it was pretty good.
How you say, listen to good advice. If they're telling you, hey, take it and run with that information. Maurice, your recruitment to Southern University, how did that go?
In terms of recruiting?
Yeah, recruiting to Southern University, that process, how did it go for you?
Well, it was a very interesting process when I was coming out of high school. It was pretty interesting because I really wanted to go to Grambling, to be honest with you. I know Southern fans will be mad. At the time, I was a wide receiver, so I wanted to be Trumaine Johnson. And I remember
Trumaine.
Williams. So I wanted to be a wingback because I was a wide receiver in high school. And then 2 years at Southern, I played wide receiver. I'll tell you how I got transferred over. But the recruiting, Southern University came down and they were on me hard. And I kept kind of pushing them back. And I said, boy, I can't wait till Coach Robinson called me because that's where I'm going. And lo and behold, it's one day before signing, and I hadn't heard from Coach Robinson. And he calls me, oh, Maurice Hurst, I got a scholarship for you. I just been busy. I said, Coach, I'm sorry, but Southern University been here with me the whole time. He said, you're not going to take the scholarship? I said, no, I'm going to Southern. I'm speaking by Classic. So it was a crazy little story. And ultimately, I said Southern. He offered me the scholarship, but I said, no, these guys, Coach Burns, Coach Washington, Villegas, they stayed on me like, this is yours. You do what you want to do. And Coach Robinson came a little too late. So, it was one of those things. But when I would be in the stands, I would always go. My family was really big Southern. And I would always go to the Bayou Classic. And, boy, I'd be sitting up in the stands, and Southern would do something. And they would be yapping. And I'd be sitting there like this.
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
So for some reason, so it was a kind of like an interesting thing. Then when I got to play, family got to come and see me play, and my family a lot of them was from Plaquemine, Louisiana, so they would come down. So it worked out really well, and being at home was better, being closer to home. So that kind of worked out really well.
And that's an interesting story, Maurice. And then you get to Southern University. How would you say your career at Southern University? How was it for you? Were you able to accomplish everything that you wanted to, and even from an academic standpoint?
Yeah, well, I did. When I first got to Southern University, and we'll get back, I know we'll get to Eric, but Eric played wide receiver at Fort Shade when I was a wide receiver. And actually, I was a running back. And then Eric was a wide receiver, and Eric went to the coaches. He said, Coach, he can catch, he can run. Y'all not going to play him at tailback. We want to use him. You know, can we use him? And I got to wide receiver, ended up playing. I was a sophomore. Eric was a senior. Ended up playing the season at wide receiver at Fort Shea. Then became all district and all state receiver. And when I got to Southern University, Eric had already been to college. He had went to Tennessee State, I think, for a year. And when he came back, he would kind of like give us ideas of things. He would help us to kind of be ready for what we were going to face when we got to college. So when he would come home, we were still in high school and we would work out together. So we were learning things that at the college level, basically in high school, and that kind of made us a lot better. So when I got to Southern, let me see some note on. Sorry about that.
There you go. No problem.
When I got to Southern, I kind of was ahead of the game because I had learned the passing tree. I had learned the routes. I had learned all this stuff because Dooley had pretty much brought that back to Fort Shea High School when he was coming back to work out with us. And so I started my freshman year at wide receiver. I got to play a lot. I was kind of the third receiver, but you ran the plays in and out. So my 2 first years there went pretty well, went pretty good. I always felt that I was getting better. We had a lot of wide receivers. Then coming into my junior year, they had a coach by the name of Greg Blosh. I don't know if you know Greg Blosh from Green Bay Packers. For some reason, they had been released from the Packers, so he was just kind of roaming around, obviously. He ended up at Southern, and Coach Walsh had just been fired, and we were kind of in the middle of nowhere, not knowing who was the coach. And he came out there into one of our practices, and I was running routes. And after running routes, he came up to me, this Coach Blosh. He said, "Look, son," he said, "look, you're going to play in the NFL at wide receiver." He said, "You got speed, you can catch, you can run." He said, "But there's a lot of wide receivers." He says, "They dime a dozen." He said, "You ever thought about playing defensive back?" And I said, "No." He said, "No, why? You like your name in the papers on Sunday, huh? You know, after the game." I said, "Kind of, yeah. You know, you got a 2 touchdown game." So he kind of understood it. He said, "You ought to give it a try." He said, "You're going to play in the NFL wide receiver because you can run." He said, "But they got a lot of you." He said, "But the way that you explode to that ball, you would be an asset at defensive back." And I never played it. And he said, "Just try it." So that spring, I just flipped over. We had no coach or nothing. We didn't know who our head coach was. We didn't have nobody. So he just taught me some things. And then Coach Chasm took over, and Coach Chasm just left me there. And on the whole, he understood the game and where I needed to be at. And I only got to play it 2 seasons at defensive back, 2 seasons in college, and ended up being drafted. And he was correct in that, I saw a lot of wide receivers who could run, who could catch, and they would get cut. But by me being on the other side of the ball, I had already caught the ball. I knew, I understood routes. And I could feel receivers. So that transition was like much easier for me. I could locate the ball because that's what I did at the receiver position. So he understood it. And it was just, you just imagine the timing of him being released, being there, moving me over, but leaving, not even coaching me. And then we meet him in the playoffs. He gets hired by the Chicago Bears, and he and I meet in the playoffs. And he said, "What I told you," and I said, "Man," I said, "Coach, I owe you." He said, "You don't owe me nothing, son. And you were talented. You just needed somebody to see it and put you in the right position." He said, "But I knew." He said, "Yeah, I knew you were going to be a good player." He said, "I could just see the explosion to the ball." He said, "Because you run away from my defensive backs and you find the ball." So it was just, nobody else would have known that in college football. You know what I mean? So the timing was everything. I just say that was just great.
Man, Charles, that's an interesting story. Didn't even know that. But, know of Maurice Hurst and with the New England Patriots. Knew that he did play at Southern University.
Well, I should hang I should step out right now because he had an offer from my alma mater, Grambling State University. Turning down the great Eddie Robinson. So I was feeling a certain kind of way when you said that, man.
You'll get over it.
you turned down an offer at my alma mater, man. You could have made it so much better. But
I wanted to play there. I wanted to wear those colors. I was the next Trumaine Johnson in my mind. And I said, I waited on Coach Robinson and waited. And, sometimes you don't know as a youngster how it goes. But somebody was like, Maurice, he didn't get his guy. So now you know how it works out.
Yeah, recruit. Yeah.
Now your scholarship is available. And it was one of those days. But boy, I'm on the phone with Coach Robinson, and I'm like nervous. And he's like, Maurice Hurst, got your scholarship, son. And I don't know how to tell Coach Robinson, no,
because he is an impressive guy. I met him. I didn't know he was that tall and a big man. I met him in Atlanta with his gorgeous wife at the it was called wasn't the Celebration Bowl then, but it was the Heritage Bowl. And he was there. Southern was playing, and I got a chance to meet him. But to your point, you're a youngster then. I'm an adult, and he still was impressive. As far as you admire him. Yeah. So boy, that was interesting. In the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and go back down memory lane a little bit. Who was probably the best player or one of the best players that you went up against?
In college, it was a little tough because obviously the quarterback position played a part, the line played a part, and we had a very good defense. But the one guy that did end up playing in the NFL for a little while was Frank Pillows from Tennessee State. And that was my first year playing. And I remember Coach Casman said, you go get on him. We had Michael Ball, too. You remember Michael Ball?
Oh, yeah, Michael Ball, yeah.
So they wouldn't throw at Michael Ball. And this was my first time ever playing cornerback, in a game. And Tennessee State threw the ball at me 17 times. And they completed one pass. Marino Cat, he says, son, that's how you play the position. I stayed on the island the whole night. We never had safety help. We never had nothing. It was just man press. It was press man to man. And I can remember that night being exhausted. And it wasn't like Cass stood there and said, okay, we're going to roll the safety over the top since they want to throw it. No, he just said, it's my man against yours. And whoever wins this game is going to win it right here. And that was their number one guy. It was Frank Pillows. And here I was, a junior, never played the position, and these balls are going in the air, slants, posts. They throwing bombs, and I'm just knocking balls down. And at the end of the day, I said, well, maybe I'd have made my mark now. So, but he was probably the toughest. My senior year, there weren't many guys that came out. Grambling did have the guy, Fred Jones, I think, and the other little fella that I ended up knocking the ball out of his hand at the end of the game in the Bayou Classic that beat y'all. Sorry about that. But Terry Rose, I thought was a very good receiver. He was hurt that during the Bayou Classic, and I think that my senior year he was hurt. But it was a couple guys that came through there, but it wasn't a lot of guys that were drafted and things like that. So it was a little bit different, but the work still ended up being the same. If you cover them, you cover them, and that's what you have to do.
Boy,
what impressed you about Southern University? Obviously you chose Southern over Grambling, but once you got in there, you talked about Coach Casson. What impressed you about the whole Jaguar Nation, Southern University, the whole thing?
Well, actually, when I got there, it was a step up from high school for me. Some high schools playing big stadiums and play in front of big crowds and things like that. It kind of shocked me in that the crowd when I first got there, and I remember my first game, We played Mississippi Valley State, and it was like we were in Memorial Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, it was like all these people, these bands, and I was just like, here I am, a freshman, and that experience from a football standpoint was just something amazing, just to see the crowd, and then to go on to the Bayou Classic and really be down there on the field as opposed to up. So at Southern University, it was, to me, and probably not a lot of people, a jump. But I was being courted by LSU. Just unfortunately, they offered me a partial at wide receiver. They offered me a partial, and I didn't take it. I said, no, I'm not going to. I had to do work and pay for books and stuff like that. So I said, no.
Right.
It was really funny. But, you know, I had been to Tiger Stadium, and I was like, this is like amazing here. You're at Tiger Stadium. But when I got to Southern, I kind of gelled with everything. The process went really well. You know, we had Coach Bennett, who was our academic advisor, and Coach Bennett really took to heart.
Robert Bennett.
He really took to heart the younger players, because Coach Bennett would be there on the first day of orientation. He would take all the players, and freshmen come with me, give me your schedules. Let's get your schedules, let's get your stuff. And he would get us in line to get our Pell Grants and whatnot. And because it was all new, you didn't know what to expect as coming out of high school. But I thought he made that transition like really good. And the coaches also. And I don't think it was a whole lot about you just being their player. I think they cared about the player, and they understood this is just a part of the process of being, when you get older, when you grow up, you're going to be a family man. You're going to need this. And I think they especially Coach Burns, Villegas, his track record with Alabama, now with the Giants. I think you got something out of them that was more than just a coach. It was more like, we care about you. We don't want you to fail. We want you on the field, but we really want you to get something out of this education. And I thought that was one of the major things that impressed me was that they were concerned about the player themselves.
Yeah, kind of seems like you felt at home, and it was like a family, and they cared about the person who happened to be an athlete. And Maurice, that leads me to the next situation. You got drafted, of course, 1989, fourth round. A lot lately has been talked about, when I say our HBCU athletes, in some cases, a few have been drafted, most are unrestricted free agent. What are your thoughts about that process now? You were drafted. A lot of student athletes, football from our schools, they're hoping that more will be drafted. Put a perspective on it for us.
Well, I can give it from two standpoints. One of a player, and then I did scout for the Dallas Cowboys for a few years under Coach Parcells.
Okay, appreciate it.
Which I was part of that deal where they had a special group of guys who dealt with small colleges, like your SWAC colleges, your little smaller colleges, and they put a lot of emphasis on finding those players. I think the one thing that separates them is the fact that it's the competition sometimes that you play against. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you're playing against Alabama, you're playing against, 20 pros, pretty much pros. But when you're on a SWAC week to week, like you might ask me, Maurice, who was the best receiver you play against, it's hard to come up with a guy. But if you're in the SEC, you're playing against those players every week. They're pros. Basically. So I think that's one aspect of it. And then, I think you do have a chance, because I remember coming out, and when I was working out for these pro scouts, I remember one of them saying to me one day, he said, "You made yourself some money today," which I ran 4.38. I did well in drills. And he said, "Man, you made yourself some money today." And I didn't understand it. But I think when they come to those schools, those guys need to, you got to stand out. You got to do something that gets them to say, hey, he was running 4.5, but they're saying 4.5. I see you running 4.3 or 4.2. So it changes their perspective of it, and I think the competition is getting better week to week. Then you have, because you have all these transfers and, the college transfer portal. So I think the competition is getting better, and the scouts can't say, well, who did he play against? Because I ended up signing Lenny Watkins, I think it was Lenny Williams from Grambling, the cornerback, to the Cowboys. I called Coach Parcells. I was a scout, but they were coaching, and I got in touch with Coach Parcells. I said, Coach Parcells, this guy's better than our 3rd and 4th corner, and he's at home. The Buccaneers just released him. I said, but he's better than our 3 and 4. He said, Maury, you sure? I said, he's better than our 3rd and 4th. Now, I ain't told you he's going to come in here and start, but I can tell you what, he's just equally as good as these two guys, if not better. They brought him in, worked him out, signed him, but he was at home. But nobody pays attention to it or watch him and bring that to the forefront. I think you get lost. It's easier to get lost in the shuffle, and they make decisions. Those teams make decisions on who you played against. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things, because when I first got to New England, it was, such and such would play with USC. He played with, this University of Texas, and he was with. That was a lot of talk around the locker room, and coaches like it too, because they know you UCLA. You didn't play it against some of the best. So I was kind of pushed to the back a little bit, Southern University, until I started to just produce in practice and produce. And they just kept on saying, well, we can't just keep him down. You know what I mean? But you start off under the 8 ball, basically. But I think it's going to get better, and these players are going to start to get drafted because they're going to be playing better competition, one, and then they're going to get more eyes are going to be on them. I think more eyes are going to be on them. And I think when you get that breakout guy like a Jerry Rice from the draft, it starts to triculate to where they say, we got to go watch this guy again, or we got to make sure of this. So with the new game, the Heritage Bowl coming up, they're able to kind of wait to see, one, if you're going to make it there, and two, the competition is better at the Heritage Bowl than it is week to week that you're going against. So I think it's the level of play that makes the difference at this point. It doesn't mean a player can't be drafted, but I think for a little while, you're going to probably have to go through this process until we get in the SWAC those good players who transfer from the LSUs to the Southern, or you know what I mean? You start maybe even getting some of the SWAC players transferring to the bigger colleges, and people starting to say, well, he left Southern and went played at LSU. But you got it the other way right now. They come out of LSU, and when they come to Southern or Grambling, they're playing tomorrow. If you leave Southern and go there, you're still in that predicament. So the competition level mentally and I guess on paper, it kind of have the scouts saying, let's just hold off. We get him cheap. We can get him late in the round if he does, and let's just keep our eyes on him. But I think we're going to see a swap in that coming up.
Well, that's interesting. You've seen it from both perspectives, and once again now with the transfer portal, I'm just happy to see student athletes, just getting the opportunity, come in as a freshman, get their degree, and they're a better player from their freshman year to their senior year. Your thoughts on Southern football program right now with, Coach Dooley, of course, personally. I kind of saw your social media a little bit. You were at the Jackson State game last year, so you are still involved with the Southern University program. But last question, your thoughts on Southern football program now under Coach Dooley?
I think Coach Dooley has a plan, and I think Coach Dooley plan. Obviously, it's tough these days because you got to win now.
Oh yeah.
They want your neck the next day if you lose one game. But I think what Coach Dooley is doing is he has a plan, and I think this plan is not only going to assist him, but if someone takes over in the future, he's building that program up. Dooley is very, very involved with even players like myself coming back, talking to his players. Well, we haven't had that kind of communication where Dooley wants to set up a day to have some of the players come back. Then you get these players seeing guys saying, hey, man, he came through Southern and he was in the NFL or he played, you can come through Southern University. So I think Dooley sees the big picture of that. And I think his plan is one that's really good because he's getting a lot of recruits. Obviously, I see your post all the time that we picked up a guy here, picked up a guy there. And that has to be a credit to him. And I think he has that long-term plan. And kind of like Coach Eddie Robinson, it was a long-term. But Robinson understood what he needed to do at first. And then he brought Grambling and put him on the map. And I think Dooley is building that program to the point where it can function and you're going to get those players who you don't have to go out and chase. They're going to be players that want to come to your facility. Southern University right now is redoing their locker rooms. They're redoing some things. I think this year we're going to have a day when a lot of the ex-players and the ex-professional players come back and come to a game. You just need to get that stuff and get it kind of involved with these guys. And I think you're going to start getting players to choose these universities because of the history of them. And I think Coach Dooley, I think he's on the right path. And I see he's building it to a point where I think it'll sustain over years, even after he's gone or whatever. And it kind of be like Coach Pete that built that and then, kind of had something for the following coach. And then he wants to build that. So I think he has a good plan in place.
Yeah. I have another question, Carlos. You were talking about Coach Cassom. Now, I remember Coach Cassom when he was an athletic director at Alcorn. He was an athletic director here on a couple of different occasions. One prior to becoming to Alcorn, and then when I was here, he served in an interim capacity. But I never got a chance to know him as a football coach. Of course, he was a coach at Alcorn, and then you talked about Southern. What kind of coach was Marino Cassom?
I'm glad you asked that question because it almost slipped my mind, and I got a quick little story to tell you, but it's going to play into what he was. Coach Cassom was as tough as they came. Obviously, that was just – it was something. It was a hard deal to play for him. You either played for him, he liked you, or you were gone. And people talk about transfer portal. Coach Cassom cut 35 players his first year as head coach at Southern. We woke up one day and we had a dorm. We had a dorm. The whole dorm was pretty much empty. After one practice, Coach Cassom had people leaving in the middle of the night. It was just unbelievable. But he was weeding out those guys who were just standing around for 5 years, 6 years. So to him, that was an experience within itself. But I want to tell you a story, and it's going to tell you a little bit about who he was. I was in New England, and Bill Parcells was there. I was Bill Parcells' first year. And Parcells, we practiced in two-a-days. This is a great story. We're practicing two-a-days, and we're on maybe day 10. So that's about 20-something practices, 2 a day, right? In Boston, normally it rains or we get rained out and something happens. But anyway, so we on practice 22, right? So Bill Parcells come up to me after the practice. He says, this tough on you, huh? This too much for you, huh? He used to So I said, Coach, hard on me. I said, no, it's hard on the boys from UCLA and USC. I said, I done did this over and over and over. I said, there's nothing you could do to me with this little bit of practice. I said, we practice 3 times, sometimes 4 days. It's not legal.
Wow.
So, what's funny though, what Parcells said? He said, Mo, after practice, go upstairs to my secretary and have her contact this Marino. I want to meet him and find out who he is. He flew Coach Cassom 2 hours, 2 a day. Coach Cassom spent a week down there in our facilities, at our practices, at the game, and he's out there. He's talking to players and talking to the owner. And Cassom, he loved Cassom. And the worst part about it was every morning I would have to go through the breakfast line, and him and Parcells would be sitting right there eating breakfast in the front in the morning. And they said, come in, Mo. And then Cassom called me Sugar. He called me Sugar because of my feet. He said, 20 feet. So Cassom said, come in, Sugar. And I'd be trying to walk past him, and then I got to go over there. And Kaz will tell a story about me, and then Bill would say something. And those two spent the whole week together, and Kaz got to coach, and he got to be on the sideline. It was probably the greatest time he ever had. And I had no idea. All I told Bill was, I said, Coach, there is no one tougher than him. And he said, I want to meet him and I want to see him. That was an amazing story, man. And
yeah.
And then Parcells and him became friends, and it was great.
Wow.
It was a great story.
That was a great story.
Yeah.
Well, Maurice, we appreciate you coming on. We'll end on that note. But, hey, I'd like to get you back, especially when football season starts, and have you join us. But it was a pleasure having you come on. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Appreciate the time that you gave us. Really,
no problem. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to it. I do want to get on during the season, talk a little bit of football with you guys, and I love to do it.
Yes. Quickly, what did you think about Jalen Woods? You got a chance to look at the footage, the quarterback?
No, I didn't. I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm going to get on there and get it. I had another guy I had duly looking at. But I'm going to get on there and check out that quarterback. I don't know much about him, but I think that's the position that needs the attention. Like, I think you got everything else. It needs the attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I exactly. See my expression because, wow, the Jaguar Nation, they're tough, but they're enthusiastic. And that is a position that they're going to be looking at with the critical eye.
Yeah, and it's a tough position for a head coach to make the decision on, because sometimes we don't know all the ins and outs of that position, and sometimes it's not so strong arm, sometimes it's the leadership, sometimes it's things that they make decisions on that we don't understand. And we say, oh, that guy's just better. He's much better, but he may not be the leader for that group. You just have to put things together, and I think that Dooley's going to do that. He's probably going to get his guy this year that he wants. Like you said, I'll check out this guy here and see. And then hopefully that thing can click over and get the moving early.
Yes. Well, we had Jalen Woods on right before you. So I'm going
to go look at it. And
and let me know what you think. Well, have a great one. We'll talk with you real soon, Maurice.
You guys are great, and I appreciate it, and I enjoyed it. And I was looking forward to it. Keep me in the loop. We'll talk.
Yes, sir. We'll do. I enjoyed you. We're going to take a quick time out. We've got another guest scheduled, Rasheed Lyles. He's ready to talk with a defensive tackle that's Coach Dooley and staff bringing in, transferred in from Louisiana Tech. We'll talk with him next. You're watching Coles Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Earth.
Thanks, it was pretty life-changing.
Dude, it was 8.5 minutes. I didn't even get to finish my burrito.
Technology lets you vacation in space, but to get work done on Earth, you need more than technology. You need CDW.
So with the Cisco hybrid work environment, we can deliver the same network experience to all your offices. Space spaghetti. Securely connecting your team from anywhere.
Houston, we have a solution.
We get it, Greg. You've been to space.
Cisco makes hybrid work possible. CDW makes it powerful.
Nope.
Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Our last guest is Rasheed Lyles. He comes to Southern University via the transfer portal, started off in Jericho, and his last stop prior to Southern is Louisiana Tech. Defensive tackle. Good afternoon to you, Rasheed. According to the information I have, 6'1", 289, 6'2", which is it?
It's 6'2", and last time away was 302.
Boy, you don't look 302, but
a lot of people tell me that. A lot of people tell me that.
You wear it well. I must say so myself. The recruiting process. I think you said you have a year. When we talked previously, a year left. You with your degree in hand. Your decision to join Southern University. How was that process, and how did it get started?
So it all started off, I graduated in March, got my bachelor's degree in sociology at Louisiana Tech. I talked to my mom about everything, telling her, I think it's just time for me to transition and do what's best for me in my career and for us as a whole, as for a family, to make the best decision possible for me to proceed and be able to put myself in the best predicament for football wise, and even more so, going on to the next level, et cetera. And even after life, and that process, it was pretty hectic. I had the Power 5, the G5. I pretty much talked about every school from each conference and level of football you can think of, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a hectic process. Like I told coaches and everybody else, I wasn't really looking for necessarily a P5 opportunity. Yes, that was, under my belt to go there, but I'm more so seeing it as a business decision. I had to do what's best for me in terms of going somewhere where I know I can come in and dominate, get my numbers, like I'm supposed to, get my film at that too. And so I can be able to, showcase that to NFL scouts per se. So, I can get my shot one day.
And now, with that being said, and I understand with Southern, they reached out to you, you reached out to them. How was it?
They reached out to me. Like I said, it was a pretty hectic process. I was getting close to about 12 calls a day, seriously, in the portal. It was pretty hectic. My schedule was really busy. All I really did throughout the whole process was work out a lot. I normally work out 2-3 times a day. I take my body through, pretty much, hell, if I'm being honest with you, because you get what you put in out of it, That's I love this. This is the game I love to play. I've been blessed and fortunate to, come this far. And I feel like it's a God-given talent for me to be able to, be in this predicament I'm in now.
Now, Winfield, Louisiana, am I correct? That's
correct.
Yeah,
I'm originally from I was born in San Diego, California. My mom, she was originally born in Jonesboro, Louisiana. My people, they stay in Winfield, Louisiana. So we took care of them and moved to Winfield in 2009, 2010 to go take care of my grandparents because, they were getting elderly. So,
I understand.
That's why we decided to move. And then did my high school career there at Winfield, started playing football in 7th grade, and then so forth on, just started playing football to this point.
Rasheed, now I'm gonna be a bit messy here. Because of course, about Louisiana, and so I'm sure you know about the tradition of Southern. Grambling State. I'm surprised, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. I'm surprised Grambling State wasn't just looking, because they're always looking to have you come play for them. But of course, being Louisiana Tech, you're so close by each other.
Right. Yeah. So with Grambling State, I would say Grambling, they was looking at me. I have a lot of family that's between, out of Grambling and Southern, but I feel like my resources, reside here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So I seen that as a benefit as well, which, led to me, or being another reason why I wanted to go to Southern as well too. But I would say I want to go to Southern because of I feel like it was like home to me. Just back around my people again, and people of mine, such as my family. and stuff, I feel like that was the biggest thing. And I felt like I needed to go out with a bang being back at home instead of going somewhere else.
Well, you have any family that attended Southern University in the past?
All on my dad's side. So
well, yeah, that's the catch right there. Now, your position coach is one of my favorite defensive tackles that played at Southern University. They've had many, but Coach DeMarcus Miller.
Heard a lot about him. I heard he was pretty good, like really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only that, though, that whole defensive side, staff-wise, I think you will definitely enjoy being coached by them. What is your strong point that you're going to add to that position for Southern University defensively?
I would say, well, this is my first rodeo, just, being through the portal and stuff. And, being a vet, I would say most definitely being able to come in and be a leader and to be an asset to the people that's already in the room, to be able to teach them the stuff that I already know, that I've been taught, from pros and coaches that has, coached at the professional level too and stuff, and has had that opportunity, to be able to go to the league. So just coming in, being able to come in right away and be able to dominate, that's what it's all about, honestly. I'm not the type of person, I don't really talk as much. I'm a quiet dude. I just let my actions show, on the field through my play. That's just me. I don't like to talk per se a lot. I just don't.
Charles, we know plenty of student athletes like that, both from the collegiate level.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of them. Well, I wanted to ask you about you kept talking about the process and how it was hectic. Of course, you've been at all levels, JUCO and La Tech. What makes that, share with us what makes this process so hectic? You're trying to stay in shape. You're trying to stay sharp. You're getting offers. You've been at different layers and levels. What makes it hectic? To take us inside of that process and what makes it such a grind?
Well, first off, I'll say mentally, the mental aspect of it. It was hectic for me, like I say, because I, getting the 10 plus 12 plus calls a day, it was a lot for me to take in. And this is probably like my most, the most calls I've ever had just throughout my recruiting process, even, when I was in JUCO and the first time I was in the portal, because I guess I was just, I showcased a good bit to where, I was on a lot of people's radars that really wanted me to come play for them, and, I was talking to my mom about this the other day too, as well, telling her, like I'm really blessed and fortunate to be in this position and, to come this far, just to be able to still be able to be playing football and, wanting to proceed and take this thing to the next level, which I have the capability to do and stuff just by being told by, many coaches and scouts as well too, and stuff that I have the talent to be able to do it. I would say the mental aspect of it, like I said, you got to just be honed in with everything. You can't just get overwhelmed about, just having all these schools call you every single day, just thinking like, whether on a good aspect of it, like, oh yeah, I'm the dude, like everybody just looking at me, everybody want me versus, taking it in as in, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think. Cause I was kind of like that as well too, I would say, like, cause that's why my decision came in so late, I would say, because I didn't know what to do and where I really wanted to go. That's why I really held out a lot on committing, because a lot of coaches was like trying to pressure me into commit, early, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to take my process slowly and make, my decision, the best one for the last one for my last year for college ball, because, going through so much, just being in college, being screwed over by coaches, just by their words and stuff, I took that in consideration. And, I took in consideration a lot on how my previous, recruiting, visits and all that stuff I had to take, went as well too. And just by words, me personally, the words, the stuff I was showing on visits, that didn't really like sell me. What sold me was, what God wanted me to do, honestly. I'm a Christian man. I am, and I truly believe in that. And I just let my, my answer, my decision come to me naturally, to be honest.
So Charles, it sounds like Rasheed did his homework, where he wants to play his last year of collegiate football. And, we've talked to Jalen Woods on the show. We talked to Christian Zachary, who's a defensive tackle coming from Liberty. And it seems like I'm sensing, hearing the same thing. It's about how comfortable you are when you meet, the coaches, and you're doing your homework to see where it's the best fit. Rasheed, is that kind of
yes, sir? You could say homework. You could say homework, most definitely, for sure. That's just from homework, from how many games the team has won. Scheme, most definitely too, was the biggest thing for me. Being able to see what am I going to get out of this scheme, to where I can showcase my talents and put on film, so these scouts can see what I'm able to do. You see what I'm saying? So I would say that the culture too is the biggest thing to me for a team. Because if the culture is not set at a team and at a certain place, then that team is more than likely, in my opinion, not ready to win per se. And I feel like Southern has had a constant history and background of, not just putting people in the league, but, just having that camaraderie as a team, being able to come as one and be able to finish games out together, and the team being able to, lean on each other to be able to, get the thing done, whether, if the coaches call a bad game or not. It always starts with the players, is how I feel. I feel like that's why I chose to go to Southern.
Interesting. And Charles, now, he's going to be playing for Southern University 2023. You see, I got a smile on my face. He knows of the Southwestern Athletic Conference because, Rasheed, I'm not going to get deep into this, but if they look up your bio, they're going to see that you play. And to me, and let me give you a warning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going to get emails. You played at an institution that, to me, is the most intense rivalry for Southern University. Now, Charles, a Grambling alum, and I'll get email from them saying, oh no, it's not. It's Grambling, but Jackson State is what I'm trying to say. So you have the experience of playing in this conference, so you know all about the culture, is what I'm saying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most definitely. Yes, sir. I was just talking to my uncle yesterday about this a lot more, about the rivalry with, Southern and Jackson State and stuff. And I told him, like, yeah, Jackson State fans, they can be different. That's all I'm gonna say. They can be different.
Well, let me jump in. I've always said this. There is a healthy passion between the two fan bases because they are alike to me. It's kind of like,
right.
I have an older brother, and my mom's gone on to glory. But the way they interact, you would, from the outside looking in, you would think that they didn't like each other, but that's just the way that they got along. And that is what I'm saying about Southern and Jackson State. Man, you experienced it even that spring session, but to me, it is an intense rivalry. And now you're going to be on the other side.
It's going to be a good one, too. Yeah, it's going to be a good one, and I'm going to be looking forward to that one most definitely. Well, really, all the games.
I understand.
And, the Bayou Classic as well, but for sure, Jackson State, most definitely. Yes, sir.
And the other guy you see, Charles, I'll just tell you, he calls all of the sporting games, football, basketball, baseball, softball, from Alcorn State. So you'll get to visit the reservation in this upcoming season.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Talk about what do you know about the SWAC and the SWAC rivalry and just all of that? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I knew, like we was just talking about with Jackson and Southern, I knew that was going to be a big game this year and stuff for sure because, last year, because I remember watching it myself too when Southern had played Jackson in the regular season, then for the championship game, and then coming up this year for the 2023 season, it's going to be a big game. You know, everybody's going to have a chip on their shoulder. I know most definitely for myself, not just because it's my last year, but of course because I'm playing against my old school and stuff. I'm gonna just be, you know, playing for Southern now. And you know, I've talked to, you know, a couple of my friends that goes to Jackson as well too. They don't seem too happy about that, but you know, it is what it is.
They'll live. They'll get over it.
Yeah, they're not too happy about that one.
What was that, Charles?
He knows how that was gonna turn out. He said he talked to a couple of them, and you could just tell by his tone of voice that they wasn't too thrilled about it. But hey, it's such is life.
Yes, sir. It is what it is. But I mean, I would say that, and then you know, the Bayou Classic for sure. I've asked every single person about that. Everybody keeps saying that's just that's the game of the year. Like, you probably never gonna play in the biggest game of the year besides that one. So I'm really looking forward to the Bayou Classic and just that whole experience, you know, that whole week.
Yeah, the culture, the rivalries within the conference. You've got just great personnel, great people. You've got students. It's just, to me, it's a great culture. Before you report to Southern University, you talked about working out. What is your plan until you report to a Southern University?
Well, I'm already down here in Baton Rouge. We just finished up that first week of workouts and stuff.
Oh, how come I didn't think? Somehow, I apologize for that. Somehow, I thought you were not there yet. But yeah, summer conditioning. How's it going?
Oh, it was good. It was a great first week. You know, just being around the team. It being my first week here, you know, I gelled in pretty well with the team, with the teammates and stuff, and that's what I really like. You know, I don't think, you know, I really had that at my last place, I would say at Jackson per se, you know, because I had that feeling, you know, at Tech as well. But if we're just speaking on swag terms, I didn't really have that per se at Jackson, if I'm being honest.
Well, I'm sure you've met some of the other, I know another particular defensive lineman that came the route of Jackson State. So it should be a good thing for everybody to get involved, knowing each other, working out. A lot of times that's when teams are built, you know, actually before the summer fall camp starts. So I appreciate your candidness about that. In closing, what would you like to say to the Jaguar Nation and the SWAC Nation?
All I can really say is just be ready to watch the 2023 season. You know, let's get this thing done and, you know, let's win the championship this year.
Well, on that note, we appreciate the time. Welcome to the Jaguar Nation, and much success this 2023 season. And we'll try to talk back with you, keep up with your progress, because once fall camp starts, it's kind of tough to talk with you guys, but we understand what's important. That is fall camp and getting ready for the season. But appreciate the time. Glad you're in Baton Rouge, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate y'all having me on.
All right. Thank you. Rasheed Lyles, a defensive tackle now at Southern University. He says 6'2", 302, but boy, I'm telling you, Charles, he carries it well. I would have said like 290, but hey.
A lot of people say I don't look 300 pounds. I got that.
Well,
I get that a lot.
By judging by the footage I saw, they will know that you're all of that.
Yeah,
so,
I just put that on too when I was at Tech, when we had got our new staff. You know, they took, you know, nutrition and you know, take care of our joints and just everything. You know, pretty like they took it pretty majorly, I would say. You know, just the eating right, you know, taking your supplements, all that. They fed us and all that, and I wound up putting on like 35 plus pounds of muscle, just muscle.
Wow.
Yes,
See,
sir.
see, when you're me and Charles' age, we'll put on weight, but it's not muscle. So enjoy, enjoy yourself now. It's good to be young. It really is. That's going to do it for today's show, 3 minutes after 1. I want to thank Roy Evans, who's also a big Miami Heat fan, for producing today's show. All of our guests, Maurice Hurst, Rasheed Lyles, Jalen Woods, Charles Edmond, and Coach Vann Pettaway. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, as always, peace and God bless. And boy, hear that chant.